The dust has settled on another European disaster for Rangers, and after sleeping on it, I actually think last night exposed a much bigger problem than Derek McInnes. We can sack another manager if we want, we can change the coaching staff again and start another rebuild, but there has to come a point where Rangers realise constantly changing the manager clearly isn't fixing what's actually wrong with this football club. I've already done the full match analysis, so I'm not going back through every chance, every mistake and every individual performance again. This is more about what Rangers need to learn from Jablonec, because they need to learn it quickly. Getting knocked out of Europe is embarrassing enough, but if the same problems carry into the domestic season, we could be watching another year disappear before it's even properly got going. The easiest reaction right now is obviously to blame Derek McInnes, because when a team plays badly, the manager is always the first person people look at, but I'm really struggling to put last night on him. The passes Rangers were trying to make were generally the right ones, and we were getting into positions where something could happen. The bigger problem was that whenever the game became physical, we just didn't look strong enough. Too many players were losing individual battles and getting knocked off the ball far too easily. Second balls were constantly falling to Jablonec, and Rangers looked like they were waiting for things to happen instead of forcing them to happen. A manager can organise the team, tell players where to be and give them instructions, but he can't go onto the pitch and fight for possession for them. At some point, the players have to take responsibility for that. And McInnes didn't suddenly become a bad manager when he walked through the doors at Rangers. He did very well with his previous teams. He built sides that were organised, competitive and difficult to beat, and he regularly got more out of squads than people expected. So when Rangers suddenly look weak, passive and completely short of confidence, I think we need to look a little bit deeper than just blaming the bloke standing in the dugout, because we've already gone through this cycle enough times. Steven Gerrard left, then we sacked Gio, Michael Beale, Big Phil, Russell Martin, and now some want Derek McInnes sacked. At some point, we have to ask ourselves whether every single one of these managers suddenly forgot how football works when they arrived at Rangers, or whether there's something deeper inside the club that keeps creating the same problems. For me, we've reached that point now. That's probably the biggest thing Rangers need to learn from last night. There has to be a minimum standard when you pull on that shirt. Losing happens and bad performances happen, but you can't go into a European qualifier and be bullied off the ball by a team that clearly isn't full of better footballers than you. That's the part I find hardest to accept. Curtis was probably the best example of what we actually need more of. Yes, he missed the penalty and he'll be devastated by that, but I wouldn't put that defeat anywhere near him. He was country miles ahead of most Rangers players on that pitch because he wanted the ball. He tried to make things happen and he played like the game actually mattered. We need considerably more players showing that kind of attitude. The only positive Rangers can really take from being knocked out is that the fixture list is now a lot lighter. We've got fewer games to deal with, so there can't really be any excuses about fatigue, travelling or playing Thursday and Sunday anymore. The focus is almost entirely domestic now, and that means Rangers have to be seriously competing for trophies. If we still can't do that with fewer games and more time on the training pitch, then the problems are much bigger than one European defeat. So I'm not calling for Derek McInnes' head after Jablonec. Quite the opposite, actually. I think Rangers need to try something different for once and give a manager enough time to properly build something while demanding considerably more from the players wearing the shirt. We've changed managers often enough now, and somehow the same problems keep finding their way back. Maybe instead of starting another rebuild from the dugout, it's time Rangers finally worked out why.